I give you the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. John Lechago.
Hello everyone, I'm very happy to be here. It's great to see some familiar faces as well. Bastion, if anyone can explain what that means to me. Anyway, actually have done one of these things that Tim described. I am a director. Everything else, hobnobbing, carpet walking, and everything, no. I think for the most part, my life is just not that exciting. But I have made quite a few films now, and worked with, among others, Film Features, Charles Band, and everything. So I think what I can really talk to y'all about is low-budget to micro-budget filmmaking, and the pitfalls, the traps, and finishing feature-length films shot at those budget levels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some pitfalls, but I'd also love to know, field any questions anyone might have about finishing films, about catastrophic occurrences on the set and what you can do. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Okay, I'm going to use this example right now. Yesterday, or day before yesterday, I lost my DP in 1 week we shoot. He had all this equipment and stuff. So, you know, what can you do? We have everyone scheduled, we have a name actor coming in on Sunday and everything, and you grind through. Basically, we called up everyone and everyone's friends, so you find your solution by networking, which is why a place like this is so valuable. You call everyone, and not just the people who you might think would be associated with other producers, but you call everyone, and they might know someone. And we have indeed found someone. We found a new director of photography who can make it within our budget, barely. And so as far as we know, and this will happen, we will have a camera that can do 4K. We will have 3 lenses, the 3 prime lenses that I love, which 25, 50, and an 80. If you don't know what those are kind of like the magic number for 35 millimeter production and stuff. It gives you your focal length, the depth of field, your 3 main ones, to make the movie look cinematic. And we will have enough lights to light our actors. Okay, other catastrophic things, for instance, on small shows, not having enough lights. I cannot stress that enough. I know that sounds ridiculous, but one other thing that I do is that I look at a lot of movies that are submitted to me, brought to me by micro-budget filmmakers who are beginners, and some are not beginners, and they say, well, this footage is very dark. What can you do? Because I do some visual effects and post-production work as well. And I say, you can reshoot it, because you have nothing there, And if you even just let's say it's an exterior night shot and everything out on the side of the road, you got there in automobiles, right? You can turn on the headlights and light your subject that way. The thing is, you really need to think about that before you do anything else. If you don't have that kind of equipment, why shoot it? Another catastrophic thing. Let me talk about some catastrophic things that then I found people coming up to me in post-production and asking me what can they do, and of course my response is, well, you have to reshoot it, because if you want someone to fix this, it'll cost more than making the movie itself. And if someone could give me the budget to fix a certain shot, or some of these shots, I would then reshoot it and save a lot of money in pocket. I would reshoot it for them. That's ridiculous. Computers are not magic. The phrase I hate the most is, we'll fix it in post. If any of you say that, I curse you from wherever I am. Don't ever say, we'll fix it in post. If you say that on the set while you're shooting, we'll fix it in post, you have enough time to actually reshoot it. In post, you can say, well, I guess we have to fix it now. But while you're shooting, you should never, ever say that. So another example is bad sound. You should, every so often, every few takes, you take a break, you're done for lunch, listen to the playback. Whoever's mixing for you, just have them play it back, listen to, if you have a double system, or to the camera, believe me, it can save you thousands of dollars in having to basically loop all those lines. And I've seen that happen many times. All of a sudden, wow, I didn't hear this buzz in my headphones. Of course, you weren't getting any buzz in your headphones, you're getting it on the tape. But your headphones were fine. I get that. That's why you really have to play it back. Focus is another one. Have a good monitor. Check your focus. Even if it looks fine on the little monitor while you're shooting, you can't fix focus. These are lethal, catastrophic problems that can, when you're working in micro budget, low budget, sometimes you can't add a day. It's just absolutely impossible.
Let's get to know you. Who are you?
Oh, me? I don't want to talk about me. Okay, tell you a story. Well, I've always wanted to be a filmmaker since I guess I was 9 years old. I love films. I was this martial arts class when I was a little itty bitty boy getting beat up on the playground, but my father took me to Chuck Norris's school, martial arts. Yeah, and then I saw him doing the moves. Oh, this is what it's for. So the bug bit me, and I'm also a trained artist, oil painter, traditional. I went off to art school, but of course in art school I went for all the film classes, then transferred to a film school, both in Chicago. Came back to Los Angeles, and pretty much quickly fell into the independent filmmaking world. At the time that I came back to Los Angeles, there was a strike in the industry. There was nothing. And of course, when the strike finished, then whatever job I would try to get, 100 people with tons of experience were ahead of me in line. So I decided, hell, I'm going to make my own film. Talking about catastrophes in finishing films, the first 3 films I tried to make did not make it. So I've done quite a few films now, and one secret to success is never giving up. But I have 3 films that will never see the light of day. And one was, we just stretched ourselves too thin. I hired inexperienced producers. I was extraordinarily inexperienced myself, and yet I was the most experienced person there. That's a problem. That really is a problem. If you don't have too much experience, you really surround yourself with mentors, people who have more experience. Don't be the leader of, it's a ship of fools. And I was a captain, and I went down with the ship. And that happened twice. My first successful film, then we radically redesigned everything. We had a budget of $5,000 to get the film in the can. And we actually went over budget, and it was $6,000 bucks, and we got the film in the can. We shot on mini DV. This is about 14 years ago now, and it looked pretty good. But I had someone helping me that was a successful micro-budget filmmaker. I don't know if some of you know Vincent Bellagio, who works a lot with a director called Jeff Leroy, who you should have speak someday. He's a local here, actually, lives in Long Beach. And he was able to say, well, no, from my experience, this, that. So we powered through it. It was a 10-day shoot. And then it took me about a year to finish in post-production. But the sound was good. The image looked good. It was crisp. It was in focus. And we had everything we needed to make the film. So basically, when I talk to people about finishing the first film, that's the biggest issue. It's just making sure that they have something to work with in post-production. If you don't need to fix it in post, you're in pretty good shape. We finished the film and sold it, and the company made probably about $100,000 profit off of it. So, yeah, it was great. I saw a little bit of that money. I've never seen any money from any other film in post ever. So that's a different conversation entirely. From there I went and made my second movie, Magus, which actually is being re-released, and I'm very proud of that one too. We shot that one in high def. And then Bio Slime, which was my first completely independently produced film, which is out now by Media Blast, which is also available on demand or through Amazon. And then I worked with Full Moon Features, and I did Killjoy 3 and Killjoy 4, which I'm happy to say has been two of the best reviewed Full Moon films in like a decade. So I'm really proud about that. And now I'm working on my own film, which is called Feast of Fear. We start shooting it next week. It's a throwback basically to totally awesome, bloody horror movies of the 80s. It's got an awesome creature that's being built by Tom Devlin, who Tim knows, and who did all the creature effects for Killjoy. And we also have very, very tiny budget, so we have to be very strategic. So the requirements for this movie is that we have it shot on a red camera that's shot with the 3 prime lenses, because that's what's going to make the film look like other films. Your glass, your lenses are so important. You really, really have to think about that. And it's going to have a real creature, no digital effects. People think I'm a visual effects artist. That's how I started out. That's not true. I'm doing visual effects, and I happen to fall into doing that for other companies and other people because I was trained in film. I know the concept. I taught myself the software, and I'm also trained in art. So basically, I just kind of figured it out. But I have a great repertoire visually from there. But having all this knowledge and this ability, I actually want to do as few visual effects as possible. And I think that's a huge issue with micro-budget films. It used to be that you would really have to think about an effect. And now people think that you just shoot a couple plates and then you give it to an artist and it'll look good. And I can't tell you how many films run in trouble and are unfinished because of that. I've received a film that was shot 10 years ago, and someone says, I have about $200, and I have these guys, I'd like some blood hits on their clothes, and we just didn't have enough time to actually rig them up with squids or do any kind of blood on their clothes and stuff. And I thought, well, then you're lazy and you're a fool, because now you're in trouble, because it would be cheaper to reshoot than for me to track on black clothing a blood hit that at best, especially for $200, would look like doo-doo. So these are things to think about, really, especially with visual effects for all the micro-budget filmmakers or doing things yourself. If you cannot afford to have a visual effects supervisor, design your effect before you shoot, really you have to do your own homework. Think about it, pick something simple. Usually if you come with things that you know what will work, simple plates, that they're clean, have a good green screen and everything, take that to a visual effects artist, then you might get gravy. Then we say, hey, then we can do this, we can do that, we can do that, because these plates are high quality. A lot of stuff that I get, and I'm not kidding, most of the stuff that I get from other micro-budget filmmakers for help is in fixing problems. And that's terrible, because no matter how well you can fix it, it'll still look like doo-doo. It'll still look terrible. It'll still be poor technique, and that's not an excuse. And it's strange, because I've actually gotten plates from a director that's been in the horror film business for decades, and he still gave me the worst plates I can imagine and stuff. So yes, I won't say the director's name. I'm not going to badmouth him and everything, but I'd love to slap him a little bit. Let's see. Any other pitfalls? Any questions? Any questions?
I got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
In this day and age, we have great cameras with 4K, and we have Alexa's shooting at 2K, which a lot of major studio films are using.
Right.
How important is resolution when it comes to selling a film? Is it?
1080p is fine.
Yeah.
1080p will do for everything. I'll tell you a secret. I'll let it out of the bag. I won't name any names, but there's a major visual effects company that does visual effects for huge films and for IMAX, and they get the 4K files, and then they do all the work in 2K, and then output it back to 4K and give it to the client, and they don't say anything, and no one noticed it. So here's the important part. Make sure you have the people you spend money on your set are a focus puller and a good screen, because you can't fix focus, and a good sound man. Everything else, like for lighting, you really want a great DP, but you can look at the screen and kind of get what you want, right?
Right.
But you can't, really try and get the best DP you can. But fatal flaws are overexposure, right? Underexposure, exposure. Do you understand? You know what a histogram is, right?
Oh yeah, I use waveforms.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. For anyone who doesn't know what a histogram is, if you're shooting your stuff, find out what a histogram is and use it. Almost every camera will give you on your digital display a histogram, so you know where your exposure is. I cannot stress how important that is. Another tool that's might be a little bit older that can be used on your cameras are zebras. Who here knows what zebras are? Not the animal. Not the animal. Does anyone here want to know what zebras are? Yes. Okay, zebras is a switch or a mode that will give you little stripes on everything in your picture that's overexposed. So when you're shooting your film, you want it to be bright, you want it to have as much exposure as possible, but you don't want your light areas, like if it's cloth, a tablecloth, you don't want zebras on that. The glints, a light zebras, fine, absolutely. But if you have zebras on this white cloth, you're not going to see any detail there. And that sounds really mundane, but it's very, very important, because overexposed film also looks really amateurish. At the same time, you don't want it underexposed. And what I'm saying here is really, you gotta be careful. Don't say it, and I really want all of you to promise me this. On your sets, don't say it, we'll fix it in post. That's the worst words in the world. You know, I hate it. I hear that all the time. Oh, Charlie, I'll name this name, Charlie.
I'm guilty of saying it. I've done it before.
Don't do it anymore.
I tried.
This is the last time. We'll fix it in post. Don't say it, because it's terrible. It's a terrible thing, and it'll affect your film. So as far as resolution, this came from resolution. 2K is fine, really. 1080p is fine. Just make sure you're well exposed and focus, and it should be good. Now, sometimes if you're shooting 4K, you can punch in a lot, but usually that means that you're not that something went wrong and you didn't get your close-ups as well. So that's okay. You can fix that in post if it's in focus. And you didn't put your 80mm on there, you didn't get your close-up, you could punch in, reframe a little bit of stuff, you can do that with 4K. But if that's your reason for having 4K is to, in case you want to punch in, I think that's a bad strategy. A little bit, yeah. Like usually when I shoot stuff, here's another thing, people have questions. One thing that I do very well is I have very short schedules, like 7 days to shoot a feature film. And people say, oh my God, you must be working 14 hours until 7 in the morning until 12 minutes. It's no, usually about 10 hours, really. I let people go early. I'm known for for getting my shots in and getting out. And what happens then is that the next day, your crew comes back happy, willing to work, and energetic, and you still have yet another productive day. So that's very important, really, to have your shot list, have everything prepared, and just be able to cover your stuff. But you can't really get, you have to have a system. So for instance, if we're shooting a scene, Ami and Corbin are shooting a scene and stuff, we'll capture them in a master, right? Okay, maybe a master of the scene, maybe a little bit farther away than a two-shot and everything, and you do your cross coverage. And that's it. That's how you do it, your cross coverage. And then maybe for a super duper close up for like the intimate moment at the end of the scene, you put a longer lens on it. What that means, you zoom in a little bit, And that's it. You just shoot like that and you have really good looking footage, for the most part. It's pretty standard, but standard works. There's a reason it's called standard, because it works and it's dependable. And for micro budgets, you really have to do that, Then save the extra time for the special shots, for your dolly shots. For your push-ins and everything. Let's see. Any other questions? You had a question. Yes. And then you.
When it comes to the final product, is there an acceptable amount of
Is there an acceptable amount of noise? No. Well, give me an example.
Well, I've seen an example of, there was a TV show I watched recently, Chocolate.
Yes.
That they had scenes in completely white.
Yes.
And it was just like, the white was really, it could have been my TV, I don't know, but it's just, the white was really noisy. Right.
Well, that's a really interesting question. It's kind of technical. There could be a few reasons why it was really noisy. It's if it's a white room, they're probably trying to not overexpose the actors when they're shooting it. But then to get everything else blown out white, you have to push it. So then the noise levels do come up. It's just called game, and you'll see that. I think that in a special effects situation like that, what I would have done as a DP is I would have actually opened it up so you shoot it that way. It's riskier, but then you don't get the noise, which is an odd thing these days. Back in the day, it used to be film grain, because you'd push it later in the post-production and you'd get more grain, but it looks cool. It looks not as disturbing as video noise. The only other thing I can think of is maybe their suppression architects as well. Since it's just, those edges and everything look quite great in the original, but by the time it gets to your television, it's been compressed and recompressed, extraordinarily compressed many times. And, I still see that sometimes. It's a lot of noise. You had a question?
I was wondering, you talked about the monsters and that you're using like a real monster. I kind of was thinking kind of old Jurassic Park style, like special effects. Is that kind of what you were talking about?
No, actually a guy in a suit, basically. I love to have a guy in a suit so he can act. And the thing is, a lot of micro-budget productions, I'll just go off on this. Like, I've done help support a lot of full moon features films, and I'm not going to badmouth them and everything, but one thing that drives me a little bit crazy is that they are spending less time and energy and money on makeup effects these days for the creatures. Where they used to have really, really great makeup effects. They really give now the makeup effects artists who are very talented people less resources. And that makes a difference then. But they're not the only ones. I see that across the board. I watch a lot of B movies on Netflix and everything. See what's out there, and they really are spending less and less time and energy on the makeup effects. And that's your hero. Or they're spending very little time and energy on digital monster effects. And again, that's your hero. So I don't understand that strategy. I think, like in this film, we're spending a significant part of the budget on the monster, on the creature. He has to look fantastic. And I think that you really, really have to consider that if you're doing anything like that. If you're doing a special effects movie, really get most of your resources to that, or else it's just going to look cheap. And I don't understand it, but so many of those out on Netflix look extraordinarily cheap. It just boggles my mind. I think a better strategy, rather than having 100 cheaply done visual effects, is just have 5 really great ones. 5 really great ones, because that's how it used to be. You know, Alien really only had about 5 or 6 shots of the creature. You know, and they were really great, and you remember those.
Going to Plan B and dealing with things when they go wrong. How about from the actor's perspective? Like, I know Adina, as an actress, has had to deal with sets or directors where things have become difficult.
Okay.
That.
Okay.
I've had So as a director, as a filmmaker, what advice do you give to actors about dealing with rolling with the punches, or when locations are falling through, or equipment breaks, etc.?
Yeah, well, you know, I can tell you what I like and what helps. I mean, there's certain actors that I love to work with to make the whole process easier. They're very generous, and so, you know, I can give you examples. I can also give you another example. You know, who's the director that did the movie Name of the Rose? Does anyone know that? I forgot his name. I love that movie, Name of the Rose. So, you know it? You'll find it. Okay, sorry, Sean Connery and stuff. And one actor that he absolutely loved was Ron Perlman. This is a long time ago. And and the thing that's and I would suggest to anyone, please listen to that commentary. Great commentary, and he has a love letter to Ron in that movie. He loves Ron. He says he's so generous and wonderful to have on set, and works so hard, and a joy to work with. You want to be that actor, because man, he gets called back by everyone. That's what all the directors say, and it makes it fun to shoot, it makes it a relaxed set, and you get stuff done. On the same commentary, he dragged F. Murray Abraham over the hot coals because he was a jerk, you know. And yes, F. Murray Abraham just won the Academy Award. Yes. What he said. F. Murray Abraham won the Academy Award, but he didn't make filming any easier, you know. So for actors, when everything starts to go wrong on a set, you can actually really help out the production by just being generous, by being, you know, a joy to be with on set. Say, how can I help you? And directors talk to each other. They'll say, hey, I love working with this person. Yeah, I'm working, you know, with the film I'm shooting soon. I have one of my actresses I've worked with briefly before, Victoria Levine. She's a joy to work with. She's so happy and just goes for it, and just, it's great. I'm so happy to have her on set. So that's why I say, is there any specific situations anyone has in mind, like any emergencies concerning actors on set? Actually, I had an actor who I was shooting Killjoy 3 in China, and one of our actors, yes, you know, I thought that he didn't need a visa to get in, even though he was told, and so what? And pocketing the cash, maybe, I guess. So we had to reschedule everything 2 days without him. Now, of course, this is in China. We can't go back and reshoot at all. And so we just powered through, you know? He also couldn't remember his lines as well. So it was really a disaster. But we still got everything shot. So sometimes you just have to power through. Another actor in Killjoy 4, you know, look, we're a nice guy, but he couldn't remember any of his lines. So it's like every other line is a cut, another cut, you know? And sometimes you just have to change your strategy. It's like, well, we're not going to be able to shoot this all in one long shot and stuff. It's like, okay, cut, feed him, and then get in the close-up, and so you have some variety. and make sure that you have your other angle, your other person covered, and then you can put it together in post, you know. But it's going to be dirty, it's going to be brutal, but you just have to get through your day, you know. So, but he was nice about it. Actually, that helped. I will address a question. So for all of us micro budget to low budget filmmakers here and everything, the old school book, they still exist. Go out there and look up those effects and those techniques. They still apply today. If you can set it now, can anyone tell me here what a plate is in film language? When you shoot a plate, anyone? Anyone? When you shoot a plate? No? No? Okay. This is important. You got to learn this. If you guys are making your own films, learn. This is a very important term here. A plate is one pass of a clip for your visual effect. So if I'm going to put a monster right here, a digital monster, I'm going to shoot this background first, and it's a plate. Or if I make this gentleman disappear, one plate is with him in this chair, and then we cut. We don't move the camera or even touch it. He leaves the frame, and then we shoot again, you know. Or if he's a puppet and he has strings, and we're puppeting him around, these strings are green, and we're going to get rid of him. We're going to first shoot him. Actually, I would prefer that he be shot first with the green strings, or the strings, the wires, whatever that we're going to erase. Then he's going to leave, and we don't touch the camera. We do not refocus the background. A lot of people, when they shoot that back plate, they refocus on the background. It's like, why? But that doesn't match what we shot with him. That's absolutely nuts. Why do you want, now I have to pull the background out of focus in post, but it's different. It doesn't look good. So these are really important things to consider because they save you literally hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in post. And that's a micro budget as well. So your plates are your layers of clips that you give in post-production. So you want to make a simple, like, Sabrina's Teenage Witch, you know, disappear thing. Well, easy. You shoot your person, then you have them leave frame, then you shoot that. Well, a lot of people can't shoot that correctly. You know, even experienced filmmakers, and it boggles my mind. So you really think about it. Do not even breathe on the camera that's locked off. Locked off means locked off. Don't breathe on it. In fact, don't even cut. Have them leave the frame and have them come completely behind the camera so that the shadow is not still in the shot. A lot of people don't think about that too. And give the post-production person a full 10 seconds of an empty frame with no shadows. No shadows, no nothing. So these are very important things. Oh, you know, let me just address another one. You know, how many people have heard of shooting sound room tone? Okay, so I visited set the other just about 3 weeks ago, and it was the most mind-boggling thing. They wanted to record some room tone and stuff right after they finished shooting scene. They said, "No, we've got to record some room tone." Said, "Everyone be quiet." And they said, "Okay, let's turn the air conditioning off so you don't have the noise of the air conditioner." So what's wrong with that?
It's just quiet. You're recording nothing.
It's not the tone that that matches your scene. Exactly.
That's like you have a table of each in the room here, and you tell everybody not to click their glasses.
Right. Well, that you can pull in later. But as far as tone goes, if you were shooting the scene and getting their dialogue with the air conditioner on, you got to leave it on for that room tone to match. You know, unless you completely want to redub everything. But these just are little things you have to really think about. So old school effects are also like matte paintings, you know, which would be, you know, you have a house on the hill and you want to make the house bigger, you want to addition, put some weird spires on it. Fine. Back in the old days, you would, you know, have run film and matte out the top part where you wanted to have addition to be black, and then later you would actually shoot a painting that would fill that in, right? Everyone understands that process, right? You would pretty much compose your shots exactly the same way, except this time you don't have to matte it out. But please, you gotta really think about composing it exactly the same way, and then you can do it digitally. You know, that's what a lot of people don't think about. Let's see, other effects. Like green screen, for instance, is another one as well. It used to be that you would have to have a perfect, or it used to be blue screen, you would have to have a perfectly lit blue screen for it to work, for you to be able to pull the film off because it was a chemical process. These days, people say green screen, well, it's cool, the computer can completely remove it. Not really. not really. You really want to perfectly light that green screen. You want a perfect saturation of green to make it as easy as possible. Because sure, you can have much better technology now that can do a pretty good job, but your image gets degraded and degraded and degraded and stuff. And if you have a perfectly lit green screen, you have the most beautiful. Why not be known for that? You know, it just takes a little bit more time to make sure that you get the plates that you need.
Looking at the business end, what's your best source, especially for like low micro budget, for looking for the talents like makeup artists and whatnot?
The best. That's a great question, especially for this group. Here, right here. You're doing it right here. The best source for micro budgets for looking for talent and stuff is a group like this where you can network and you can ask people. So it might not be someone in this group, but it'd be someone that you know. Another one is Craigslist. Put your ad out on Craigslist. Put your budget, what you have, your resources up front. Have it up front. Say this is it. Sometimes you get people say, well, I could do it for a little bit more, and say, well, but that's not what I put on the paper. Sorry, you know. Sometimes you have to be brutal. But really networking, and you know, over the years, I know a lot of people, though, and but I continuously try to get my and grow my Rolodex, you know. So really, that's the answer to that. Use this group, become friends with everyone, network, and even if you don't think it's their department, ask them. Sometimes you know, people know other people. The last thing that I want people to think about for finishing the films is called chain of title. Who here knows about chain of title? Chain of title? No one knows here what chain of title is? Come on. Hello. Chain of title? Okay, some of these words are very important. Chain of title? 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 Okay, everyone remember this word. It's one of the most important words in, well, one of the two most, so I'm going to finish with this. Selling your film, okay? Selling your feature film, low budget film, and you can have a low budget, micro budget film and still sell it and everything, but there's some things you need to do to make it easier. First of all, it's chain of title, and what that means is you get a contract with everyone. All of your actors, all of your artists, all of your workers, every single person that has done anything significant or even insignificant, make them sign to make sure you have the rights, so make sure you have a chain of title. It also starts with the person who wrote it. Don't say, oh, it's my best friend that wrote this film. When money comes up, things get sticky. Make sure that the production company, the entity, whether it's DBA or an actual LLC, has a contract signed with the author, giving them full permission to give them ownership. In other words, chain of title. Because the first person who owns the film is the writer. It starts with that. So want to make sure you have contract with the writer, gives you full rights. Then with the director, music, every single thing. Because when you go to sell the film, they're going to ask you about chain of title. They're also going to ask you about insurance. If they require insurance, you need to get it. Which is errors and omissions. It gets really expensive without chain of title documentation, and that means all the contracts. You know, and if you could actually save any money, some lawyers will do it for fairly cheap. They'll look it over, hire a lawyer to look at that. I cannot stress that enough. I did not have a super duper chain of title for one of my films, and that's only $10,000 sale to me. You know, for instance, you know, if I had a better chain of title, you know, I could have sold that film easily. And then the other thing is deliverables. So this is the final thing I'll say. If you do not know what deliverables are on a film, you need to start thinking about it now, while you're in production. Because deliverables, you might make a sale to Lionsgate. If you don't have your deliverables in order, we're going to kill you, and then you're going to have no money left. You can say, we'll give you this much, but if we have to take care of these things on the deliverables list, we're going to pay for them and take it out of what we're going to give you. You know? So what does that mean? Eventually, they're going to have your movie for free, and in fact, they're probably not going to pay as much as they say that they are. It's just the truth. You know, so make sure that you have all of your deliverables. And I don't know, afterwards, if you want me to, I could send you a list of what deliverables are, standard deliverables, you know, but it's really good to familiarize yourself with that. For instance, the deliverable is not only the film in a digital format on HDSR with 5.1 director's commentary, or filmmaker's commentary, stuff like that. Sometimes they ask for some really ridiculous things, like they still ask for what's called a print copy. Which is, wait a second, we're not dealing with film anymore. They'll still ask for that. They'll ask for a, what's it called? dialogue list, which is basically a new script of exactly what was said, including all the ahs and ums for dubbing, for international. That's very important. You really have to take care of these things early on than finding out that you're running out of money. Also for deliverables, part of the deliverables to make sure that you pass QC, and that's quality control, because if they fix your movie, they'll also charge you a lot of money, take it out of what they're going to give to you as well. So you really have to have good quality deliverable, which means hire for $1,000 a professional color grader. It's worth it. It really is. Hire for a couple $1,000. Someone will take all of your tracks, not your sound mixer, but another set of ears. They're objective. A separate person to make sure it's all legal and at the right levels. And it's mixed properly. Hear all the dialogue clearly. It should be a separate person, and that will save you money. It'll save you a lot of money and headache, because when you make the sale, you're on top of the world, yay! And then the companies, you may have sold this to Lionsgate, and they're really picky. Except they find a little chink in armor, they'll start to chip away. And this is happening to a friend of mine right now, which is why I really want to bring it up. You don't want to give them any excuses to start needling at your film. So really invest in like a mix, a professional mixer to do all of your final tracks, a professional color grader, because it really saves a lot of money. If they fix it for you, they'll charge you, and then they'll take it out of whatever advance or whatever they're going to give you. So let me see. I think that's about any other questions. Okay, real quick. So I'll say completion bonds pretty much for micro budget and stuff. We just don't have that safety net.
For the higher things,
I don't know that much about it, but we just never deal with them and everything. We just, unfortunately, when you're working micro budget, you have to keep on your schedule. You just have to do it. Insurance, two ways of doing that. On my film right now, we're shooting on locations which have the insurance, the states which have the insurance for almost everything. And then we're doing short-term insurance for certain equipment. But whatever happens, we're covered. So that is important, and it's worth it as well. You get cheaper rentals if you can get an insurance policy. And what was the last one, the third one?
Well, it was just your completion bond,
yes,
your insurance bond, and your shooting schedules, and how important that is. And just that even producers on higher level projects really love people that have experience working on lower level projects, because no matter what the project is, no matter what the budget is, they want to make sure that things come in on time.
Yes, schedules are really important. I've had great luck in getting in all my shots on time and stuff. But the reason why is I come prepared. You not only go and you make up your schedule with what scenes you want to shoot in the day, you really have to take a couple days to put that up and see what is the optimal order to shoot everything. What would be the fastest way? So you're not shooting one scene and the next. When your camera is pointed in a certain direction and that is lit, you want to shoot all of your scenes that are the same thing, lit the same way and all that, all at once. And that's how you save time. It's a pain in the ass to figure that out, but you can do it. And really it'll save you a few days. Just sitting down in a few hours, with all your stuff up on your board. That's a great question. That saves me every time, basically, because once the camera's pointed that way and stuff, I know all the shots that I need. Not only that one scene, but all other scenes that are lit the same way, pointing out in that direction with those actors. And then sometimes you have to turn the camera around, but the more you cut down on that, the better.
It's mine.
Anything else?
Yeah, John, Troy has a quick comment regarding a couple of things he said, and then we're going to wrap it up and do a group picture. It's Troy.
Hi guys. I just want to reflect on what he was saying. I didn't mention, but I work in the action sports industry, and we have blown it twice. Not once, twice, on what he was saying about getting signatures and releases. We shot in Venice, and we forgot to get the guy's signature of a truck that we were shooting at. He saw his face. We happened to choose a photo where he was in the background. He saw his face. $20,000.
Wow. Yep,
all because we forgot one signature.
Get those signatures.
Yeah. Same thing happened with another model in France.
Also, research fair use for products. You don't have to black out everything and stuff, but really understand what fair use is like. If you're shooting like a Kellogg's breakfast, or like this Heinz tomato ketchup, we're shooting this thing here. It's okay. It's not a big deal if you're shooting in this, but if you feature it, if it's out, if it's do anything derogatory, oh, I hate this shit and whatever, then you might get a little bit of trouble and stuff. So don't sweat small stuff. But if you have a doubt, if it's a bigger stuff, or it's a very big brand, or it's like a Kardashian line thing, anything like that, then you really do want to get clearances on everything. I mean, it's just so fun. When it's a parody of a product, you are protected to some extent, but really be familiar with it, because yes, for free speech, for parodying, for comedy, for if you have an opinion about it, you can use it without permission, obviously, but really kind of research it, make sure that you know where you stand.
And the second thing was the Post. Post is a
beast.
But it's also a very lucrative business.
Yeah.
You guys have all seen the GoPro commercials, I'm sure. How beautifully colorful they are. Has anyone shot the GoPro? They suck.
Right.
They're not that great. Yeah. I have a friend who works for GoPro, and he spends hours upon hours fixing color and stabilizing those things.
Fixing it in Post.
I was on my break and had my
So what sucks? Get your stuff there first time.
Yeah, as best as you can. Sometimes you can't do it all, but really try. And I'm just saying that because I see a lot of laziness out there. I really do. And it'll bite you in the ass. It can mean the difference between having a film out there and out the door relatively pain-free, or having a film that will never see the light of day. I'm not kidding. I've seen quite a few of those never see the light of day just because of a few key scenes that they cannot reshoot that they didn't pay attention to.
John, so where can we continue to have access to you? Should we have them forward questions to LBAFA, or are you comfortable with people knowing your email, or being kind of a source for people to talk to, or?
I think LBAFA for now is fine, and then I'll see how to make myself accessible as well, because I love networking as well. I'm working on films all the time. People want to come work on. Not only do I have this film that I'm working on right now, but I do have Killjoy 5 that's shooting with Full Moon Features, which as harsh as it is shooting with Full Moon, they have great exposure and stuff. If you want credits on one of those films and stuff, maybe that can be arranged as well. And maybe I might need some help in certain areas too.
Yeah, that was my next thing. So as you can see, we have a great turnout here. We have over 40 people here, but we have an online network of hundreds of people who are actors and filmmakers and crews. So please, communicate with the BAFA anytime if you ever need our help with any of your projects, and we just really appreciate you coming on. Any last remarks or anything?
Okay. Just besides some of those buzzwords that I want everyone to learn, seriously, like chain of title, plates. I mean, really important. I'm not kidding. Even for actors and everything, this is very important. If you're an actor, you have to understand where your position in the chain of title. And if you are actually in fact help the filmmakers by saying, well, let me sign so you have good chain of title, they'll love you. That's a good thing. Besides that, I don't want anyone here, I want everyone to promise me never to say we'll fix it in post.
No, we'll fix it in post ever again.
No, do not say that.
Never again.
If it's a disaster, never just say, I guess we'll deal with it in post. Maybe you're allowed to say that, but no fix it in post.
No fix it in post.
Okay? Okay, that's it. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Everyone go up for John. Thank you.